Sashi
Pege joji meto tra lera legini de yama. Sangye shindo mite buwai. Drakanam dajima. Shuro shu. Guru rama nandela kani. Dayami. Sangye shindo zoyu shanala. Janjo badu dani tasuchi. Dagi chunyen jive zonamgi, dola penche sangye chupa shu. Sangye chudan soge chonamla, janjo padu nani gyatsoge. Dagi chunyen jive zonamgi, dola penche sangye chupa shu. Sangye chudan soge chonamla, janjo padu nani gyatsoge. Bichinin gibi sonam gibi Drola pençe sange Tatinima je Takasan karışıkla.
So what were we explaining last week?
I think.
What was being explained? Can you remember?
That maybe I should keep quiet this time. We were talking about it essentially.
Normalde quality. Normalde quality case Johnsons.
The collection of merit and wisdom to get to the the path to the two.
Oh yeah, but what was the main point about that? I remember that.
The leadership is comparing it to the present people here. You make it from the present people.
And he was saying that what they say is actually destroying the present unique present people.
Yeah, right.
That because of the tsunami gyokun said to Yorwa that digi and it umape and it tumori bit and a negaji shiki dos and langi sing double res na deep but chasan the troll to res never check this it chisum
Kasanye de kata karele gachati
Chitan the gachati nazo the yoma because the candy nazo yoma res cancel yores chisum
Kasanye gachat jisam tong silabimba. Karimba, jilabimba.
Didn't I ask you to think about the object of negation? What did I say about that? Can you remember?
Even like the homework text?
Some yeah, I gave you something to think about in between the classes.
Okay, so that things don't exist from their own side, that they are essentially impermanent, and that the Prasangika Madhyamaka view is that things can exist and function, but they don't exist from their own side, and that we need to contemplate.
That's thank you, Belula. Rangi Tsanigi Tubio Mares. Rangi Tsanigi Mad Tubshin do any that Chachilism to take it as the Takana your rest, the teaching some dog rest.
That did you do, yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
She's testing us now.
That day, that not teach that thank you, Galula. Rangi Tini, maybe to get the culture of this, and in the society, Kinamata, Kinama, Kinama, Chene, Zashi Ramsi, Nishu, Journal, Tori, Tongani, Teche, that didn't. He cooked 칠세레스 야치두가
koja sede.
칠세레스 야치두가 얘네 땜베칠 순가스 다디 칠세레 고자기 초라니 되게 루나레 견도 태와 민주가 바시도 마세기 랭가 담발라 소바 넘버 샤바 탐지 치신도 태바 이노시 땜베칠 송바 가라 동반이 로아 시소기다 다디 제세르니 그티지 엄마자와시를 당도 데르마티 mambu야리다 뜻이 투수비 슈 투수비 텐다 티셔도가 다디르마티 자랑어범마 오마바니 그다트모 마이 버저베 저바나라 시그동바라 콘데게 남샤 탐지 샤도 메로 저베 나나스 랑고물 그베 두장야 메바 계제다 고바다 고바다 그바서 콘데게 남샤 탐지 케람베 초바네 우마베 케주 인디스 자시 랍지 시발레스 니시발레 견도 태워라 유로와 이 동바 태바 마인베 최네 동이 봉지바 간딜라야 간딜라라 메테도 간라 동바 니로 대다 탐제 동 로알이도 간라 동이 메로와 대라 탐제 메로 교르시 시 가디 대다 군 동나 시소 이견 시기 메마 다디 단데디 라지 미슈발이 시주들이 단데디는 맞다 전도 단지 저바진바 저바니 가르레스네 자시리 가디디 대다 군 동나 중앙 매지 집안에 파베 덴바 시부는 켜라메바 태바 줄세야디 뒤에지 집에 당루 우마 텐두바라 이 가르스는 가디세야디 저버거리 그 자신의 가디디다 동나스 최 탐제라 신규 동나 중앙 매지 집안에 아니 최 그냥 중앙 매버리 집에 매버리 파베 덴바 시부디안 never to this, Habit and by Shibuna Killer never tell it juice. Daddy Sashi, the Sashi Nari, good of it, daddy, Jovati teacher. That in a Jovati good. That Jovani with the John Dole, Kadimo Tamjeki, Rashi Kula, Yumina, Chigi Tika Rashime, Rashin Topa. Minusus, the Charangi, Umatinju Balasirva, Charangi, Katimu Tamje, Rashigi, Ula Yumina, Rashigu Tubakuna mess, Sigiaris. Merina, Chigi Tsikas, Chigi the Rashi Meva Kuchigi Tsitia, Rashi mess of the Rashi mess, Chigia Rashi Mevina, and Rashi Doba Minisi, Chig Delatine, Rashi Yutuba the Katu Maris, Chikura, Rashi Yutuba Marabas, Chikura Rashi Yutuba Mina Chig Maku Verta, Zulula. Yena, Mobutamjari, Rangating Yutuba, Rashi Yutuba in Sigaraba. Ani Rashi Meba Goji, Chig Rashi Mebaina, Ani Rashi Meba Goji, Chig Delatine. Rashi Meva Tutu Maris, Church Tika Rashi Mays, Rashi Doba Minusus, Chig the Rashi Meva Yesene, Chig the Latin Rashi Tubat and Don Maris, that ever need to cover it. That's ever need the Sam Zambagi, Sam Zambata, that I give a young wearies. And is Kijigi. Sem Tamba Major did it at Kaji, ungwabu tangjaran shingi drup sigare. ungwabu tangjaran shingi drupa yinsa, ungwabu tangjaran shingi madruna me kuris. Ta tanda te tsa shigi te. Kadi teta kuntungna sete. Kadi che tangje rashingi tona junga meji jiba me. Ngani che tangje ani kyujane teni junga te me sigare. Jiba te me ungwabu che tangje. 아니 디베버이나 밥에 템바시부 군주 템바 고 동네 템바 아니 고된 람데시부 디메베 주브리스 어디 티켓 저버티 티켓 제 탄데 저버티 가산 저버 거야 되지.
No. Okay, so we're around page 130, 131 here. First of all, Rinpoche was reading out from further down and then remarking that's to quote from Clear Words on page 131 down the bottom there. So and then she's saying that's not so clear. So there are many texts which are quoted here, and now like for example, there's the way things are explained in the 24th chapter of the Mula Madhyamaka Karika. So anyway, there are two arguments that are made against the Prasangika system. In other words, the system that says things don't exist by their own nature. And this is stated in, this is towards the bottom of page 130. So it's stated in the in the Mula Madhyamaka Karika, and because it says the way that it's phrased in Tibetan, karite. So in the English, that's simply been translated as if. So what this is sort of like indicating that what Nagarjuna is doing right at this point is like stating the argument that's made against the Prasangikas. So what they say is if everything is empty, in other words, if everything is empty of existing by their own nature, there'd be no arising, or in other words, production, things wouldn't be produced. There would also be no disintegration or destruction. If that's the case, then the Four Noble Truths also wouldn't exist, because they're also like a case of cause and effect. So that's the first argument. That's in the Mula Madhyamaka Karika. They're saying if everything is empty of existing by its own nature, like you say, then that means there will be no production, there'll be no disintegration, and there'll be no Four Truths. And then the other argument is stated in the refutation of objections, and this verse is quoted at the top of page 131, where it says, "Of all things are completely without intrinsic nature." So, what they're saying is, if nothing exists from its own side, but if nothing exists by its own nature, then the words that you use to prove that things are empty of existing by their own nature, or to refute existence by its own nature, these are also going to be empty of existing by their own nature. Therefore, they won't have the power to prove anything or to refute anything. So this is something which the Chittamatras and in fact also the Swatantrikas would say. That's the argument they would make. In fact, everybody from the Swatantrika system downwards, they all say that things exist by their own nature. And if you say that they don't exist by their own nature, then they would say, therefore, there can be no production, no destruction. The Four Truths wouldn't exist. You wouldn't have the truth of suffering arising as a result of the truth of the origin. You wouldn't have the achievement of the truth of cessation by practicing the truth of the path.
Yeah, that Rande Mobu Mawa, Kaba, that Rande Mobu Mawa Seneca series.
So what there's an expression here. It says the Mama, so like I think it says essentialist. The term is the one that usual major proponents of inherent existence, which belong to our group. I'm not sure exactly the words that's used in this text, but so what does that mean? The people that are on our side, which who are realists or essentialists. What does that mean? Well, okay, let's look at it this way. How many sort of groups are there within the
Rangi Deva Sati, number sign give it Deva Dilasierba, Deva. That Dilagaze is in Deva Shia.
So how many like groupings philosophical groupings, schools are there within within Buddhism? There's four, right? No.
The Jedamawa state.
So one is called the Jedamawa, which means the Vaibhashika.
Ani didn't Dodiba.
Dodiba is the Sautrantika.
Then Semtambaji, that Semtambaji.
Then Chittamatra.
Then Umabas Jenny, Devashiari.
Then Madhyamika. So those are the four.
That Dinane, Randumawa Senate, Jedamawa, Dodiba, Semtamba Mechetil, Mobumawa Sigiri. Karesina, Mobu Tindu Mawa. Sigiri, Jedamawa. Mobutam Jetambatuba Yinsigari. Dodibe Mobutam Jetambatuba Yinsigari. Semtambare Mobutam Jetambatuba Yinsigari.
Sumjalo. No.
Just an Momawa said, Mobu Tempermawa, Tempatuba Mawa Sigaris.
So that's how many of like we normally say how many schools of tennis there are anyway. Rande. So our group is the expression that's being used. Rande, our side or our group, our groups, our classes. So anyway, there are those four. So then when it says the ones that like Buddhist philosophical systems, which literally Nobama means like proponents of things. It's often translated, I think, as like realist. And the reason why it's called literally the proponents of things is because the Vaibhashikas, Sautrantikas, and the Chittamatras all say that things, as opposed to phenomena which are permanent, they all say things are truly existent. That's why they're called realists or proponents of things, because they're proponents of things being truly existent.
That is Uma Tingu Bala Java Jungeti, Tande Java Jungeti, Umama said, Java Jungeti Nala careers, and most Jungeti Jedama, Dodeba, Sem Zamba Tigiri, and it Java the Java was.
And so when we talk about these realists, proponents of things, realists, arguing against the Prasangikas, then who it is that's making the argument is therefore the Vaibhashikas, Sautrantikas, and Chittamatra.
That is in a dark next to the that is Chitamje. Rangang to get Ranshi and maybe Tombani Yina city. Shoot them there, Ranshi it, but that shoot them the Temba Mare citizen, but shoot them your Rashi messy. Just an shoot them the Rashi manner. Don't move with Tamja Rashi make Mobo. Over Tamja Rashi Mebina. 뭐 탐자라 시기 매바이나 아니 가르 용거래스나 아 아니 지금 주스도 코알라 징바스 레니키 온게 담보 니몬베 온게 레사는 코아케와 디에디 마리스 징바디스 좋아세야디 아니 그래서 레니기 빠네 레드니 뭐니부터 빠네 아니 동네를 주에 네 탈바토바디 용구 마리스 라시기면은 아니 지금 주소 관대기 남샤 탐제 조선 매바 냠바 디코나 인디세야 디디리 가디세야 디디 말이 가디 디다 그 동네 중앙에 진집바 매세티 디나나 최탐제 아니 겨디 때는 중앙에 매버주 그래서 집바디 매버 밥에 템바 시부는 켜를 매버 투 주시디 밥에 시바 템바 시부디 매버 투 그래서 디매나 아니 냐 동네다 군주 매나 khoachimbatia mari alamde gote menani ni khwale thwati mebris ochesane chingju thik mari siati te phabe temba shibunam kyole meba umathingi vicharanda meba the dugris leve
This is what they're saying. If all phenomena are empty of existing by their own nature, then that would mean that things, or functioning things as they're sometimes called, or effective phenomena, things will also be empty of existing by their own nature. And for that reason, there won't be the possibility of being tied up, which means, or tied up or bound, which means bound by karma and the destructive thoughts and emotions, or klesha, in cyclic existence. So the whole thing, the whole process of them being born in cyclic existence is due to the motivating force of the klesha, the destructive thoughts and emotions, due to which we create karma, and because of that karma we're born in cyclic existence. That would not be possible. Also, liberation would not be possible, because liberation refers to abandoning karma and the klesha, and through that being free of suffering. In other words, gaining liberation. It would be impossible to gain liberation. So there wouldn't be any such thing as cyclic existence and nirvana. Why? Because there would be no production and no destruction. Because there's no production or destruction, there will be no Four Noble Truths. So you won't be able to talk about being caught up in or tied up in cyclic existence within the first two truths, because the first two truths wouldn't exist. Truth of suffering arising from the truth of the origin. And there would be no possibility of liberation, because the second two truths wouldn't exist. There would be no achieving of the truth of cessation through practicing the truth of the path.
That is landed. Ngagumawagi to the landed. That's a Zashiraji Nishibalis. That was Sheriff de la Rabji Mambuchi Arvatina, Rabji Mishtashi Batile, the joint land pie.
And the answer comes in the 24th chapter of the Mula Madhyamaka Karika. So that should be in the middle of page 131. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
That's the John to Tower Gilbani, don't not tell my English. John to Tower Gilbert the Garrison, John Taylor the Garrison. Don't buy me, Rashik don't buy in, and 자치 남샤 되게 말했으니 다 동이 보여야 돼 뒤져라 동을 태워 많이 돼서 라시게 동발라 자치게 남샤 태워 인사 아니 괜히 동이 본지 봤어 그래 시기 그게 동바도 공화 제발했어 계란 룰라 되겠다 뭐마와 룰라 아니 최담자라 시기 맞나 아니 그래서 그래 대다 탐제 메테를 봐 최탐제 메테 샤서력이야 말이 아니 강하다 또 연남 태워를 교반이 있을 때 지난 길로라 네 뭐마와는 길로라 교회 태워를 교반이 가르스네 강하다 동반이 미루나 라시가 동반이나 강하다 동반이도 니 롱아세 강하다 동반이 가르쳐 그래 그래 말해 동을 태봐 많이 배웠을 때 라신기 그거라 아니 자직이 남자 미루아 임배 대다 탐제 kenny 동립 본제 아니 라시기 동바이는 아니 자지 남셔 가야 태금이도 매버인선이 최기 동립 본아 제발했어 라시기 그것도 본아 제발했어 계란이 다 간디 나라 밑에도 엄마 텐주가 있는데 계란게 삼루지 엄마 텐주별로 되게 말이에요 제발 가르쳐네 간디 나라 밑에도 간디 생활하세도 엄마 텐주별 룰라 라시기 마두나 자치기 남샤 밑에부터 나라 되게 말이에요 가르쳐서는 가라 동바 니루아 텐주별 룰라 가라 동바 니루아 세네 라시기 동바 텔라 아니 자치기 남샤 탐지 롱아티리 계란기지 저번에는 라시기 매나 자지 남샤 메테바디 그러송아 텐주가 룰라 아니 라시기 동바라 자지 남샤 탐지 최버리 계란디 나라디리 예바디 양말이스 텐주가 라시기 동나 자지가 남샤 메테바디 나라 말이스 그래서는 자식이 남샤 탐제 라시기 동배 때문에 자식이 남샤 태버들이 태그리 라시기 마동바이는 자식이 남샤 태기야 말이야 다티 뭐보마를 라시기 마루나 자식이 남샤 메테오인바 이 고란주 성주 들어봐 다 태기별로라 말을 태기별로 말을 견디 주고 말이스 가르레스는 라시기 마두베 때문에 자식이 남샤 태버리겠어. 라시기 마두 좀나 자식이 남샤 메테버리. 뭐보마를 라시기 마두나 자식이 남샤 메테. 텐주별로라 라시기 좀나 자식이 남샤 메테. 이 예산이 안타지 근데 딜랜디 다시 저는 타가지고 아니 동물라 태바 마인베 저희 동이 본지 봐스제 디디 계란굴을 tinderis 간디 나라 밑에도 계란 그 상주도 나라 되게 말이스 가나 동반이 롱와 델라 탐제 롱을 들으스 가나 동이 미루와 대다 델라 탐제 미루는 들으스 다 팅기별로 제리스 다티 단지기 마와기 저가텔라 아니 괜찮아야 된다
So here in this, the 24th chapter, the position of the realists, the proponents of things that being truly existent, is stated, that their objection is stated, and also it's refuted. So we're looking at this where it says the reductio expressing the fallacy that all is untenable is not right about emptiness, thus forsaking emptiness as you have is not right for me. What it's saying here is that according to the realists, if there's nothing which exists by its own nature, if everything is empty, existing by its own nature, then the whole setup of agents and actions and objects won't be tenable. So what Nagarjuna says in reply is that objection applies to you because you don't accept that things are empty of existing by their own nature. That objection doesn't apply to me because, for me, in other words, within the Prasangi system, everything is tenable. Everything functions on the basis of, or while being empty of existing by their own nature. So, so those realists, they say if everything is empty, existing by its own nature, then none of that would be tenable. You wouldn't be able to posit being the process of being tied up in psychic existence, achieving liberation from it. And he's saying this that argument is only applicable to you because you reject emptiness of existence by its own nature. So he says in the third line, so in the English he says, "It's not right for me." It's not tenable. It doesn't work for me. That argument doesn't work for me because according to my system, all of that is, it's all tenable and all viable on the basis of not existing by its own side. And then the last verse that's quoted there, this is like how the Prasangikas see it. For those to whom emptiness makes sense, everything makes sense. So if emptiness makes sense to you, then everything else will make sense. If emptiness doesn't make sense, then nothing is going to make sense.
Do you understand that?
Yes.
Actually, I have a question.
Is it clear? Oh, Julia said.
But he's not answering his question, Nagarjuna. Is he? I mean, this person is saying to him that the phenomenon. I think I'm a little bit confused about what is the difference between things and phenomena. They seem to be making a distinction between things and phenomena. Is there a distinction?
Okay. The the Nobota Church Niora Dini Kabakaris.
Chida Ngobu Sanjitari Gale, Ngobu Sagi, Getu Tilia, Ngobu Seatili, Yuvayan, Yuvasiati, Getu Yunguser. Jasa Cheta Maogi, Tabengu killing Gary. That Dotebata Asem Zambata, T and Chetu, Ngobu Sena, Ne, Junjin Yuvachila Kubiari. Debukere Jawachini. Debukere Rangi Debukere Jawachini Mobu Jigyu Yuba. You gain the thing, give you, but you know, was here. 30 Mobu Karasure. Sunday day, Mobu Seati, get to Dilla and Yuba Seati. Yunguser. Teacher in the Cheta Mao Gimobutil Tabe Mobuta, the Tabe Mob singing Kellingary. Timishochi, Tigun, Dodebata and Chetigi, Mobusena, and then Duji Church. Kinji, Kujanatin, Kipu, 지중 주견에 되는 판지 내가 지중에 지라 뭐보시리야래.
If you look at the Sanskrit source for this word, ngobo, which I'm not quite sure how she translates it in this text. I haven't got on top of that, but usually, thing or functioning thing or effective phenomenon. Anyway, ngobo in the Tibetan, that it can mean that it's equivalent to a phenomenon. In other words, existent. So according to the Sanskrit derivation, it would be equivalent to a phenomenon. Phenomenon and thing would be equivalent. For this reason, then in the Vaibhashika system, they talk about permanent things and impermanent things. They have the idea that you can have something, something which is a thing, which is also impermanent, or they can also be things which are permanent. However, for the Sautrantikas and upwards, when they use the word thing, noble, then it would have to be impermanent. So they define a thing as that which is able to perform a function, and specifically the function would be of producing results. So in other words, it wouldn't refer to everything. Not everything is capable of producing results. In other words, for them, a thing is something which is subject to production and destruction or disintegration, depending upon causes and conditions. No.
Then ngobuse metabase juices chibari ngobuse jute tenji rangi debukebe tenji chane ngobuse tenji ne ngobuse chini shege juices ati jujengi duje bala tene chungasene juices che ani metabase ne keji le joa dubu yosane metabase chene 미따단디 그 카가다버리 시당 뭐고 너데가 인체되는 뭐고 메타바 뒤체스는 집어 얘네 메타바 시드 그 깨지 배네 bomba라부터이나 bomba 깨지를 좋아지게 재산 bom바들 메타바에스게 야 bom바데 규정도 뒤체벌 때문에 중앙에서는 bomba를 뒤제시게 야 bom바지 아니 전체가 인사네 근데 bom바지 가르소래 추조하라 소바 아니 지 레가만 붙이야 예산에 뭐부시게 제상 뭐부 메타바 뒤제 집벌에 이내야 민타 숨두가 어디나시다 너들의 이제 그 뭐부시는다 메타버스는다 뒤제스는 집아 제다만 룰링이 샤송아 메타버스보다 다베무스니 샤송아 디메셔지기 너들의 인체들이 어떤데 시게
So we have there are actually three what's the expression, mutually inclusive terms. So one is noble thing. So that is defined as something which has the power to perform a function, specifically the function of producing a result. So that's one thing, or noble. Then mitapa, impermanent. Impermanent it's an expression that's used to refer to something which changes moment by moment. And then you've got, let's say, dujiso, causative, or let's see, not causative, there's another word, more like compounded, let's say, compounded phenomenon. What that means is something which is compounded through, we probably prefer to say produced by, but anyway, compounded by or through causes and conditions. So the Sautrantika upwards all, so in other words, the Chittamantra and Manjavika, they all say that these three are mutually inclusive. In other words, they will all three refer to one object. Like, for example, if we take a vase. So a vase is, it changes moment by moment. So from that point of view, we would call it impermanent. It's also compounded through causes and various causes and conditions. From that point of view, it's referred to as a compounded phenomenon. Then it's also able to perform a function, like you can use it for pouring water. So there are lots of things that you can do with it. So from that point of view, it's referred to as a thing. So Sotra upwards say that those three terms are mutually inclusive. It's only in the case of the Vajikas where they don't accept that these three are equivalent or mutually inclusive, because they say there are things which are permanent and there are also things which are impermanent.
Okay, so now can I ask my other question?
And Jewish, sure, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, come to show.
Yeah.
Okay, so in this this part here in 131 in the center, if this person who's arguing with the Prasangika Madhyamaka guy, right, he doesn't believe in emptiness. And so for the answer to be, if you don't believe in emptiness, but I believe in emptiness, so it makes sense to me, that doesn't seem to be answering his argument, does it?
Then, because Carlson went there, Jundi Tower Guini, Donatella Maimbe, Uni Tony, Bonjepa, Kandingala, Mite Dovas. One is another Benedict, thank you, but and Rangu Niki to Circle Travachina. Then Rangupe, the Lobonuki, and the Rangupe. Chopati, Monikayo Mara, Gamma song, Karsana, that Lomulu to be Karsum Resana, the count of the Tony killing windows, count of Tony killing Mesa, and it did Kangidi young glass. Then another near the Tombani killing years. There's another the German dose to take it as the judging now to take it as. Sumberema daughter, when did the Kama songa?
Yeah, when a gabri. Garesina Kugi, Pabet and Bashibuna, Kilometer Tower Juice Levery, the Java could. Tati Kati Kati Rashid Tuna Karasare Pabation, but the Bashibuna. Kilometer Tower Juice, depart quickly. Gadira she to Natat in the third Pabet and Bashibuna, Java Chivata, Wamaudi, Chatham Zashili, Kadi, the Queen Tona, Juma Meiji Jiba, Pabe, the Bashibuna, Kilometer Tower Juice, Java. Tati Ranugi Diat did a question. Kadi Digu Medona Kadi Digu Medona Juma Meiji Jiba Mes Pabes Dambashibunam Tolameba Telajus. Hipati Pad Genjuri. The Kadi Dida Dona Siag Sabde. Kadi Dida Medona Juma Meiji Jibanes Pabet and Bashibuna Kilmer. Kadi Ane Chetangje Naranshing Medona Ranshing Medona Ane Julatin and Debujuma Tilmari Jibaya Tilmari. 밥에 댐바 시보나 철내가 태워줘. 나시도 주문세. 가디 디다 그 또나를 알아봐. 가디 디다 그 메도나. 조아메지 제바메 밥에 댐바 시보나 철내가 태워줘. 밥거 그래. 이게 이거를 이때 자식이 친구들 이 연구야. 자식이 나를 뒤태를 저라를 뒤태 말했어. 나를 뒤 그런데 태기야 말했어. 나한테 그런데 메테바였으니 나 저는 아니 밥에 가라서 그래. 자식이 남자 태발 라식이 매발라 자식이 남자 태발이. 이 마트 저라를 저는 다 라식이 두바이에서는 아니 겨웠던 집앞 매바 태그리 밥에 된 것이 부처 매바 태그리 파고 라식이 둠나 가시 라식이 두바이나 가디디다 그 메도나 중앙메지 집앞에 밥에 된 것이 부는 켜는 매바 태워줘 파고
Actually, the refutation does work very well, because what they have said is that, in fact, this is a bit further up, where it quotes if this is just a second, where it says at the bottom of page 130, if all these were empty, there would be no arising and no disintegration. It would follow the view the Four Noble Truths would exist. So there he's, like stating their argument. And if you, if you, the argument that he's making can be expressed by changing those words just a little bit. So in other words, what he's saying is, if all these were not empty, there would be no arising and no disintegration. It would follow for you that for them, in other words, the Four Noble Truths would not exist. So, so in other words, they're saying if all these things are empty of existing by their nature, then there'd be no arising and no destruction. The Four Noble Truths would not exist. And so what he's saying is, if they're not empty, none of that would work. Things which when we say that everything which exists is not empty of existing by its own nature, then none of that would be viable.
So do they believe in dependent arising, the other schools?
En consulting digital joint indicating to yes, consult. Yes, they accept dependent arising.
땡기캐리 남박이 강글로 땡기캐리 아니 다 제발게 땡기캐면에 캐면에 단대들이 남박도서 강글로 땡기캐리 말이 땡기캐리 말 인산이 땡기디 라시기 두시를 키게 샘담바다 디멘체들이 땡기 인산에 무부 탐자랑 시기 두거리 예시게 줄레테네 데부키부가 라시게 마tum을 줄레테네 데부키와 팅마리스 땡기 인산 땡기 인베 규제게 라시기 kup시게 개인적으로 땡기 인베 규제게 라시기 마투시게 어다디 어디
Actually, all Buddhists accept dependent arising. It's only the non-Buddhist schools that say, that have the idea that things can exist without being dependent arising. So you have the Chittamatras saying, for example, the thing is that although they all accept dependent arising, the Chittamatras, for example, use dependent arising as a proof that things existing by their own nature. So they will say that there's dependent arising. That means that causes give rise to results. and therefore they must be existing by their own nature. If they didn't exist by their own nature, then the causes wouldn't be able to produce results. For the Prasangikas, they use dependent arising to prove things empty of existing by their own nature. They say things are dependent arising, aren't they? So because they're dependent arising, of course they don't exist by their own nature.
다단지 저밖에 칠파 교류송을 귤귤이다. 가디디다 그메 동나스 조아메시 집안에 파베 담바 시부나 켜라메가 타가지고 파구이주에 저 가지때 저밖에 거인데 가디디고 메도나 조아메시 집안에 파베 담바 시부나 켜라메가 타가지고 쓰더라고요. 다른 안로기 개인적으로 가디디다 그 동나 메도나스 가디디다 그 메도나 파 조아메시 집안에 파베 담바 시부나 켜라메가 타가지고 이 자식이 지다가는 팔을 인생의 견주들이.
And so you need to be able to switch or change the words a little bit. So where in the Mulimadkaraka, the argument is stated, if all that is empty of existing by its own nature, then there will be no arising and no destruction and so forth. Then our position, the position of the Prasangikas, would have to be stated as if all that is not empty, then there will be no empty of existing by its own nature. There will be no arising, no destruction, and there will be no Four Noble Truths.
That means that the 대교박이 상기 중대대기 진이까지는 땡지 되변하래 교육이 진이까지가 땡지니를 잡는 상기가 강까지가 땡지를 잡는 대양양내 대기대 시주면을 교람에서 제르바 나티네야 단대디 응마와도 수위 최래 최기 때를 제주배 제단다 제단마와도 수래야 네 담배 제수 슈니 땡지 캐링에 디기다 로바지 나다디 말하는 게 그래 이 다들 개교배 땡지이나 땡지인 사람이 메시지 땡지들의 만부야리 요래때네 대부 중에서 땡지시 준대 땡지시지 아니야 또배 바다 잠기 땡지시지 양랑게 차실을 때네 땡지시지 땡지 차라를 무슨 캐는 거예요 아니 교정이 땡지지 아니 도대반에 제디 캐는 거예요 랑게 차실을 때네 답에 땡지지 랭기베 캐는 거예요 랑게 차실을 때는 그냥 샘담밤에 제디 땡지시야디 준대 땡지르시야 달리 랑규백이 땡지들을 비대 땡지야리 디간다 랑게 차실을 때네 중에 땡지디에 캐는 게 난갈로서부터 땡지 인식이야 아란도 미게 통야 도서 간걸로 땡지디 뒤제 땡지시야 다 미게 통야 맹에 지기 네 근데 맨야 지기 캐랑 춤 뭐부 캐는 게 여러봐. 미게 토야 매네양. 암조를 맞추네양. 암조를 토야 돼 잘해봐. 미게 토야 돼 수르봐. 아니 제시를 요야 돼 로르봐. 류게를 잡지 여러봐. 온봉아이 유마인게기 출마 부여래. 도수 주제되는 말이 주제되는 말에서 우리가 디나를 따뜻 쉐바야리 쉐바도수 온봉아이 유마인게 취지리 주제리 된데리 다 디마인베 도마제기 출마 부여래 도수 차시를 된 답에 된지세들이 그래서 우마랑 유베 차시를 때에 답에 된지다 주제기 된지니 캐네 다 땡규베 또베 파다 잠기 된지세디 캐링이 되다 우마 땡규베 우마랑 유베 또베 파다 잠기 된지 캐링이야 말이야 최단계 또베 파다 잠 말이 있어 어디 인산에 땡지들 아니 이제 최단계 런시기 매디 땡지인베 치스쿠리 이 땡지인베 치스야디 땡지들 숨캐는 거야 나는 난가취지 런시기 매디 땡지인베 치스야디 랑게 차셔를 때문에 땡지세야 될 거고요 땡뭐 봉버취시 아니 땡지인베 치스야디 런시기 매디 땡지인베 치스야디 유전을 때문에 길을 땡지스 라추고요 차셔를 때문에 답에 땡지지 봉바디 랑게 초반에 유래 유전만부 지기 차셔 싸발을 때문에 그랑기 봉배 차셔 초반에 유래 차셔만부 초발을 때문에 봉바디 시작이야로 이 시작에서는 랑게 차셔를 답에 땡지지 유전을 때문에 주에 땡지지 다 봉바취지 땡지인데 세야티 땡지지 랑이 주제를 개베 직선을 드려야 근데 난가 취지 라시기 메디 주제 가르고 그래 땡지인데 치고 이 땡지지 랑이 차셔를 때문에 답아인베 치지 어디 그거를 봐 다디 딩이 그거를 봐 다디 땡주별로는 라시기 메디 아니 또베 파다 잠기 땡지인베 치지 또베 파다 잠기 공부치 지란시기 메디 또베 파다 잠기인베 치지나 다 땡지 차셔들이
다 숨자로 아니데 런시기 마투테 땡지
데르바
주기네 땡지 차실 때네
공부치 지에서 땡지인데 랑이 주전을 때문에 중앙인베 치지나 다디 땡지세야디 준대 땡지를 제버리 다 난가 취지 라시기 메디 땡지인베 치지로 봐 이 땡지디 규정이 땡지를 고야 매버리 규정이 중앙 말아봐 이 가래서 땡지디 차시를 답에 땡지인베 랑게 차시를 때문에 주바인베 치지게
Now, according to the Prasangikas, because of being a dependent arising, it can't exist by its own nature. Everything is a dependent arising, and therefore there's nothing which can exist by its own nature. Now, when we talk about dependent arising, actually there are different types, let's say, of dependent arising. Some more subtle, some more superficial. So you have, for example, dependent arising in the sense of being results that arise through depending upon causes. Then you've got dependent arising. I don't know if that's really the right term there, because actually then they're sort of like dependent and related. And so let's say dependent on parts. So you've got phenomena which are dependent upon causal conditions. Then there's also dependence upon parts. And there's also dependence upon the mere imputation from the side of the conceptual mind. So actually, I should be more precise there. The order in which Rinpoche listed them was the dependence on causal conditions, results depending on causal conditions. Then dependence on mere imputation from the side of the conceptual consciousness, and then depends on causing condition. Sorry, on parts. So you have for the Vaibhashikas, Sautrantikas, the Chittamantras, for them, dependent arising or dependent, it always refers to dependence of results on their causes. Then the Svatantrikas also accept the idea that there are things which are dependent arising because they're dependent upon causal conditions. They also accept that when we say dependent and related, it also includes the idea of dependence on parts. So, for example, what that means is that for the Sautrantikas, the Chittamantras, also for the Vaibhashikas, for something to be a dependent arising, it has to be produced depending upon causal conditions, which means that not everything is going to be a dependent arising. So they accept dependent arising, but they don't accept that everything is dependent arising. When you get to the Svatantrikas, because they also accept the idea that dependence can refer to dependence on parts, something which is permanent can also be a dependent arising. So, for example, you've got space, which is permanent, and so you can't describe it as a dependent arising because of being produced depending upon causal conditions, but you can still say it's a dependent arising because it depends upon its parts. So everything that we can see is a dependent arising. So what we see, it would be forms, visible forms. Everything that we can hear, which means sounds are also dependent arising. Also the tastes, which are the objects which are perceived by the tongue consciousness, smells that are smelt by the nose consciousness, tangibles which are experienced by or felt by the body consciousness. But then there are also other things which can't be seen or heard and so on by the senses, and some of those can be nevertheless products of causing conditions, but there are also some which are not produced by causal conditions. So those are non-compounded phenomena, but they are still dependent arising because they depend upon their parts. So then this the third kind of dependent arising, which is the dependent arising in the sense of being merely imputed from the side of the conceptual mind or conceptual consciousness. So that's only accepted by the Prasangikas. The Svatantrikas don't accept that idea. So we can say that everything, in the Prasangika system, we can say everything is empty because of being dependent arising, and specifically we can say everything is empty because of being independent arising, because of being merely labeled or merely imputed from the side of the conceptual consciousness. So if we take the example of a vase, to which all these three types of dependent arising apply, you can say that the vase doesn't exist by its own nature because it's a dependent arising, because it's comes into being through depending upon cause and conditions. So that's the cause and effect dependent arising. We can also say it doesn't exist by its own nature because it's a dependent arising, because it depends upon its parts. So that would be the dependent arising in the sense of dependence on parts. And then we can also say that it's empty of existing by its own nature because it's a dependent arising, because it's merely labeled by the from the side of the conceptual consciousness. No.
Then Pumbachi, Rashiki Message, Pumbachi, Ranju Maris. My began with any HS. Rashiki Messena, Pumbati, Rashiki, Ranjun of Jing, Ran Shandala Ram Malevicin, Koran with of Jiki, Jung Shabach, Ranjun of Jing, and Ranjun of Sea, Chesituga, Dinashi Jenny. Pumbachi, Rashiki Yamari, minded, Ranju Maris. You get with any Juaris, citizen, but that Rashiki made it and in the HS to Koya the Tiri. You get with any to put to gas. Just only Ranju Mari, Rangu, when a true Mari, Ranjungu true Mari, quite Shannon to Shabres. I'll take this cigarette. Just on Rashiki Meva, Tendi Taki, Rashiki met to Yaki. Pumbara Rashing Matuti to Janatani to the Tendi in BHS. Turn it to my BHS. But this citizen Batani could Ranju my embers. I thought you could go to watch us and Rashing to Ranju of Jingu. You can't share a mala, Rama level, Kurang to the shadows.
So we can say that the vase as a subject of the argument does not exist by its own nature, or is empty of existing by its own nature, because it's dependent arising. So how that works is, when we say exists by its own nature, what that means is, well, we have this expression Rangjung in Tibetan, so like self-arisen. So it means it's something like this, just like there naturally, not depending upon anything else. It's just sort of like there through, it happened by itself, through its own power, through its own force, not depending upon anything else. That's what it means when we say existing by its own nature, that it's sort of like naturally occurring, not depending upon anything else, nothing that made it happen. So that's how it makes sense to say that it's empty of existing by its own nature because it's dependent arising. So the thing is, what we're saying is, it's empty of existing by its own nature because it's not like self-arisen, it's not naturally occurring. It doesn't naturally occur because it occurs depending upon cause and conditions. Because, in other words, because it's a dependent arising. So that's how that kind of argument works. When we say that the vase as a subject is empty of existing by its own nature because it's dependent arising, existing by its own nature means existing without depending upon anything else, without depending upon cause and conditions. But actually, it does depend upon cause and conditions because it's dependent arising in that sense.
There of Chidai to Tamba Daddy, Tambukune for Pinali, you were Chinangar. There of it, Tambu, dressing it, Tambuti, Shingle Make, Shingati opposite. Inetina shoot at the time. In a Latin servant, servant at Tani, Tini, you go to the yard, Jetem Mabuche, Kalema Bucha. Any higher Jenny, anything Jessie at Chunguerva. Tinichi Chunguer, Maran, 9 into Tamba Pigay, Kalaya Mativer, Tambuko and Pignari, Chinangutuga. You get 20 short on the tennis at the Nagi made. Maybe naturally could you change 20 short on the tennis Jumba Yensa. That is the Dutchess of Kuran Jumari could Tambuti. Shingachi Kuber, Shingatil Mambujo. Tina children, Tina Sergeant Mimambu, Sergeant. Tineko Janet Chulu Kuber, Tina Louis Keb Kuber. In the Etiquette Mambu, Sobel Tenetinity, and you could see the iron to Janet, she Werba. 근데 이게 지금 마타는 데트 never. 근데 이게 근데 마음부터 떠버려. 이 이제 좀 맞다. 방안도는 나 이제 그게 단들 도도 그러지. 청세티나 레부티나는 담보는 그쪽에서 지나와 지역이 돼 봐. 어디 되게 말아. 이 인생 되게 지는 당신도 조선의 규제 때문에 가능해 맞죠 그렇지. 타파 매버리 규제 때문에 가능해 매도발 매버리 매니지. 포티 당신도 두고 말이 남시지는 그 매버리 두게. 걔지 참 마찬가지 그 매버리 두게. 그래서 그 당신도 두고 말이 그걸 질르게 해야 되다. 그걸 시작이 때문에 배 냐자지야를 보지다. 르 템포 승리 배치 지야디 야마레. 내가 그래봐. 라신도 그것에 있는 만두 같은 데지 담부근 배 로그 배 템포를 승으로 갖고 뭐부터 템포를 붙이.
나이데.
세대 나인데. 지기 라신도 그것에 좀 중인지 좀 지기 템포를 붙이고 이제 가는 맛을 나온지 지체. 디데 지난 게 코란신도 좀 말했어. 그냥 잠을 채우서는 내버려 두게 봐. 걔 거실에 때는 주중, 걔 거실에 때는 내버려야 봐. 저산디 걔는 뒤뒤디 안주 나인데 주gen 때는 초점을 때는 뒤뒤 만나면 제는 게 아마래. 어때 만화의 선택은 시작해야지 알아. 저들은 시 텐디스야 티티리다.
So again, about dependent arising, the way things appear to us, like for example, if you take think about rice, how it appears to us when we see the rice is well, it appears it's like it was already there. Somehow, right from the beginning, it was already there. Actually, how are things? Actually, what happens is many people are involved in plowing the field, then sowing the seed, and supplying the nutrition, the manure, and so on, and keeping it watered. And there's a lot of work that's done on the field to make sure that the plant will grow. So the plant grows, and eventually you get the rice, and then the rice is harvested, and so on. That's actually what happens. A lot of hard work that goes into it. But the way that it appears to us is like it doesn't depend upon anything, completely independent. It seems like it doesn't depend upon all of that. It just appears sort of like it just appears like that to you. In fact, it's dependent. If you take away all of that process of preparing the field, sowing the seed, and so on, sowing the grain, the rice, there would be no rice there. However, the way that it appears is like it was already there. It was right from the beginning, it was already there without depending upon any of that. It has that very kind of like solid and firm appearance to us. And yet, depending upon cause and conditions, it comes into being. Depending upon cause and conditions, it goes again. That's actually how it is. But the way that it appears is it has that very kind of solid, firm existence, completely like there from the beginning, independent of anything else. And based on a belief in that appearance, then attachment arises and so on. So this is dependent arising.
Yeah. Then yeah, Pumbati Vagina Tanjiti Jujan Tendesati Jujan tended the Kubain which is Serva. Then Pumbati 10 days. I'm the Chasha Lieutenant every 10 days. 차셔를 더 땡데세야지 왜냐 분바디 tomdewa shevshua chudiwara chiche pumbase pumbati chashetile mambuyari pumbe shargi pumbe na du chamdusu pumbe chasheri pumbe toadi pumbe chasheri pumbe chududi pumbe chasherba tadi isne chashet pase suna pumbala dugiyari chashet su jumbala tini pumbase yati Keju mampuji tsang yu pumba shegiyarwa. Keju dige paati sendu na pumba tala dorwa. Chasa pumba di nyang ranshingi menti rangi chasha le tene tabe tende yinbe echis kuyu yari. Tati chi tende di chasha le tabe tende seyate chasha di karisha urasine pumba keju mampuji yarwa. Dusu pumba chasha sigiyari. Pumbe ka, pumbe shiab, pumbe toa, pumbe jimbar, chodula sobatus. Tate pumbe shiab di me, pumbe ka di me, tus pa jime re sena, pumba di jitu be. Pumba sudi tambu de toa rabdisu. Toa de sudi tamba pumba chaya marwa. Ne pumba di shiab disu. Ne pumbe ka disu. Ani tinde chiri pumba tichegi yarwa. Ani chesa tige chashe gangi maasana pumba chegi miduga. Chesa pumba chegi zambayi zambu pumba ge toa rabdi nyela su. Toto chi su. Tine pumba ge di kude shiab di su. Tine di ka di su. Tine chosu di su kudu. Tine pumba tu su wa. Chashe tu su maasana pumba tu miduga. Tadi chashe di pumbe gyumari. Pumbe toa, pumbe shab, pumbe chu ka dusu kangulu, pumbe chashe yinsu. Pumbe gyumari. Wadi yinsa ta pumba di rangi gyuyin la tobe tendere. Rangi chashe la tani tabe tendere.
So we have, if you take the vase as an example again, we can say that the vase is dependent arising because it depends upon causal conditions. So it doesn't exist by its own nature because it's dependent arising. How is it dependent arising? Because it depends upon causal conditions. It also depends upon parts. So when we think about the parts, then we can think about, there's the front, back, right and left and so on. So those are all the parts, front part, back part, right part, the left part. Those are the parts of the vase. Also, the kind of vase we're talking about is like the ceremonial ones that they use in initiation. So you've got the base, you've got the round middle part, you've got the mouth of the vase, you've got the spout and all that. So those are all the parts. So in other words, the part refers to all the different attributes of the vase. So how the vase is made is, you make the base first. When you just got the base, you don't have a vase yet. Then you form the bulbous middle part. Even then, still there's no vase there. You have to make the mouth. Still there's no vase. Then you make the spout. Once all the parts are there, then you have a vase. But if you take all of the parts away one by one, there's no vase there. So the vase exists depending upon the parts in that way. So the vase is also dependent arising in the sense of depending upon its parts, and those parts are not causes. They're not the causes of the vase. The vase does have its causes, so it's a dependent arising in the sense of depending upon causal conditions. It's also dependent arising in the sense of existing through depending upon its parts.
That's me. Pumbati, Arashingi Yamaris, Karesan, Tobeta, Tobeta image, Tobeta, Tendi image, see. A day, Karesan, Pumbati, Tobetas and Pumbal, Pumbal Zimbe, Temachierva, Pumbal Zimbe, Tiny bit Temachier. Gee, I shout something. There's a Tobeta, Tendi Seti, Pumbati, and Ran Joji. Toba said, Toba Tigi, I shot them. Church, Toba manor, Pumba bands, never. Pumba Yuba di Pumzi Toba Yuba only in a Pumba jobberba. Pumzi Toba never in a Pumba di Yuba jo to never. That Pumba Joji is a Pumzi Toba said, tiny bit Samas. Pumba Toba tiny bit Samas. Pumba the tiny bit Samati manor. Pumba Yamari. There's a Pumbati Tobetazam. Tobetazam 20 years. Tobetazam 20 cities. Some that the Yugan when it's on a meba. Topa Kuran on them, Topa Shichil on the Shabbat, Tokanji. You do when it to a Maimba. Topa on Jimbakuji. That Topa Tigi. Jidem Bananji. Nan Rose to Tamba. Nan Rose ya the Topa Tigi. Nan Ruin the Topa Tigi. Any Ketangi, any Kunanani, Royali, Drona, Royal Chachi Tevery. Nan Rose to Tamba, Dronete Sure, Rosa di Quare, Chevachigina, any Droe Chachi, Chavati, Tegi Amare, Caresan and Dronete Chega Chimbaina, Nati Carere, Nan Rose to Dronete Nati Carreto, Sem Direto, Lui Direto, Chega China, Lui Dini Namari, Sem Dini Namari, Ani Nan Doyagi, Doyagi Chavati Tilmarta, Doyagi, Doyet the Tachi. Nan Rosi Seagi Tani Tagaran Jenny, teaching Dona, Dosati Ligierva. Timatching the Chanduneti Carreto, Bruneti Chagachini Giamarva. And it doing it in Menata. And it Dre Chavati, Jutu Mebra. But in Sanata, Tobeta and City, Nandu City, Tagaran, Chimney, Dona. Royal Chavak, win it, Leas Yari. Timatching the Che, Brunette Sure, Chiagachi. Drosagi Langati Chiagachi, Langati Cadere, the next Filipato, T. Drosagi Langati, Tara, Drosagi Langati Reto, Titus Chiagina, Nia Mero, what is an Pumbati Topetatam Seatitiri. Did Pumba Shive Tani Daga Chimney, any Pumbe Jajil Pumbala Juna, ne Pumbati Jachi Teviari. The Majevice only Pumba Shive Tani Tasat Correto, Pumbe Cartereto, Sheltereto, Pumbena with Tugentireto, Tinesichegin, Pumbania Mary, Pumbe Sheltin Pumba Mari, Pumbeto in Pumba Mari. Pumbena with Tugento so Pumba Mari, kumba mevere chasunga. Ani jesane ani kumbe chawa chiatilan ko jinjungsunga.
We can also say that the vase doesn't exist by its own nature because it's merely labeled by the conceptual mind. What that means is there is a valid conventional so conventional or conventional mind which apprehends the vase, grasps or apprehends the vase. So the vase is merely posited by that conceptual mind, conventional conceptual mind. If there were no conceptual mind apprehending the vase, there'd be no vase. You wouldn't be able to posit a vase. You can't posit the existence of a vase except by the conceptual mind apprehending it. So it exists by being posited by that conceptual mind apprehending the vase, and it can't be posited without it. So you have that the vase being dependent arising because it's merely labeled by the conceptual mind, which is, in other words, it's your conceptual mind, the conventional conceptual mind or valid cognizer, which realizes or apprehends that vase. So if you're satisfied with simply labeling the vase, then everything functions. When you're not satisfied with the label and you start investigating and analyzing, then it doesn't work anymore. It's sorry, I missed one thing out, which is important here. When we say merely labeled by the conceptual mind, that mere, it eliminates something or rejects something which is existing from its own side. So merely labeled means it's labeled and not existing at all from its own side. So worldly people, or people in the world, would normally say, "I'm going," and there is the conceptual mind thinking, "I go." So "I'm going" is posited by that, or labeled by that conceptual mind thinking, "I go." So if you leave it at that, then everything functions. Whereas if you start investigating, like for example, by asking such questions as, who is it that's going? Where is the going taking place? So for example, if you start analyzing, then that action of going is no longer tenable. If you start asking, is it the mind that's going, or is it the body that's going? So the body is not I, the mind is not I. So then there's nobody going. You start, you can't. The action of going is no longer tenable in the face of that in investigation. So when you're satisfied with the simple thought, "I'm going," then it works and you can go. But when you're not satisfied with just saying "I'm going," and you start investigating, analyzing where I'm going, who's going, and so on, then you can no longer posit going. For example, with the you can't posit an I going. Like for example, if you think so, where is this going taking place? And when I say I'm going, where is it I'm going? So you might think, okay, so I'm going from here to there. But then when you start, analyzing even further, so within that, where is the going? Where is the going that I can point out right down to the atoms? Then you can't find the action of going. So you can't find the person who's going because you keep looking, you're analyzing, and you can't find it. You can't find where the going is, the action of going is taking place. So in this way, when you analyze, when you're not satisfied with the label and you analyze, then it's not tenable. The person going is not tenable. The action of going is not tenable. So just like that, in the case of the vase, if you say this is a vase and you're satisfied with that, then agent, action, and so on, this all it's all viable, it's all tenable. When you start analyzing and asking the question, well, when we say vase, is this the part, is the top part of the vase, is the bottom part of the vase, is this the vase, that the vase, and so on, then you cannot posit a vase any longer. You can't find it. You can't posit it, and it becomes non-existent. There's just nothing there that you can you can point out.
안에 강가로 저 강가로 민담 있어요. 민담 또 배사장. 그냥 로르부터 지네 로 당부디 루디 로 살세야디 로 당부디 시베 로디. 다른 로디 제가 친구이나 로 당부를 시에네 되네. 민들을 때네 디지그램이 시지기. 로디 제가 지네 체버지디 로르베 체버지기는 주주 당부디 로르베 니버디 로르베 다와 당부디 로르베 니버디 로르베 되네면 오늘 로이주 로디 가디도 그래 야니 로이주디 다와 당부기 다와 중이베 아니 난가럽지 또 로르베 로테 맹점 지안이 되니 로시아디 샤브리 미시지 파자가 치는 로디 이야민두가 이는 어디 디나신 추 탐제다 그래 아리 로시디 맹점디 케니 로야기 자와제 지지 샤구리 미시지 아니 아리티 카레스 로세 아리티 카레스 나디티 게레레 네레투 아리레투 네 아리기 킹디 아리레투 아리기 데디 사제레네 아리레투 아도스 치야기 때네 아니 아리시제티 대주제스메가 아니 아리 로세 아리 참하고 이제 갖고 뭐서 근데 로세 매버지 테드와이 로마시 버지 테드와 근데 지금 딱같이 로시에끼리 미시지 세지한 민도스가 어떤 날씨리 대사 최근에 민점다 로베 따점 예시야 디디리
So now we are all mere names. All phenomena are mere names. So now, if we take, when we think about the new year, so if we start asking ourselves, that year, is it the first month? It's not the first month. Is it the second month? Not the second month. If you say, okay, let's go for the first month. So is it the first day? Is it the second day? Is it is it this day? Is it that day? Then there's nothing that you can point out. You lose it. You lose the year. You can't find the year. There's nothing that you can pin it down to. So how things actually work is without analysing, we're satisfied with the mere name. We just say, this year, and then it works. But when you start saying, well, what do you mean by this year? Is this year, is it this month? Is it this month? Is it this month? Or is it this day? Is it this day? There's nothing that you can find. And so you have to leave it as as being merely labelled or merely named. Like when we talk about, I'm going to the United States. So if you just say that, if you leave it like that as the mere name, it works. If you start analysing, where is this United States? Is it here? Is it there? Is it this field? Is it that field? Is it this place? Is it that place? Then it's like you've got nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go anymore. So you just have to leave it. You have to leave it as just mere name.
Just don't move.
So this is all about how everything is mere name and mere conceptual mind.
어쨌든 공부치지 라시기메디 도베다든 그때는 거죠. 민정이 배치스는 게 민정 그때는 거죠. 최단계 민정이 제일 민정 그때는 거죠. 도베다든 그때는 거죠. 다디 제가 때때들 숨주스나 어디 인상 그 민정 베이스 민정 나는데 누가 어리기 신지디 프로듀스다 막 민트 파지도 아니 어리 신지 많이 버렸습니다. 그 따자 민타스티 단대 신지디 민타스티 지야르바 이거 신지 심마티 제도도 민트 프로듀스 때 그런 대디야르바 민타스티 그 제마교양을 거다가를 때 대디르바 민디 포르드다 아니 그 민들더니 피게 민디 피게 자인데 그 어리신지 있는지 지모르 봐. 이 마찬가지에 어리신지디 실은 저것도이나 그 저는 신경을 제 어리신지다. 이 그 제도도 저는 좀 대대라. 그봐. 딱 민디 제브래. 아니 그 어리 신지 많이 차. 민디 현다지를 보인 그 어리 신지 대중아. 뒤년도 그 민마블 건도 장이 그런 예셔를 진로 간데 제베네. 민마다 버도 그 신지 대마송아. 민다인도 신지 대송아. 세상다디 그 민점을 봐. 대인사 뒤집어리 최탐제 민점을 수직이 민점만 버전에 민다스를 파대주지 같이는 야 말이야. 어디에서 민점시에.
And so we can say that the vase as a subject doesn't exist by its own nature because it's merely labeled by the conceptual mind. Or equally, we can simply say because of being mere name. So this is something that applies to all of us. All phenomena are mere name. They're dependent arising in the sense of being mere name. They're dependent arising in the sense of being merely imputed by the conceptual consciousness. So those two are equivalent. So we have those three types of dependent arising, and arising in the sense of being results that depend upon the cause and conditions, depending upon parts, and also depending upon mere imputation by the conceptual mind. If we look at the president, for example, so at the moment he's called the president, and that's what makes him the president. So when things change, and then that name will be transferred to somebody else, he'll no longer be called the president, he won't be the president anymore. Somebody else will be the president. So however the process happens because of voting or whatever, then at a certain point, the person is labeled the president of the of the United States. So before he's labeled that, he's not the president. Before he's called that, he's not the president. Then when he's called the president, at the end of that process of whatever it is, then he's called president, then he's the president. Then later on, things change again. He won't be called president anymore. He will still be there, but he won't be the president anymore. So it's just like that. The president is also merely labeled by a conceptual consciousness.
It's a good
Yeah. What did you just say? That Nandu Rashi maybe to Jitilla, Chatham Rashi massive. That to Jitilla, then they engage school. That did to Jitty. That then they said to the soon. Then they is teacher. Ani Chashel Tabet is teacher. Ani Tobe Patasm is Sumiaris.
The dependent arising then is the proof for nothing existing by its own nature. And dependent arising has these three levels. You've got dependent arising, which means effects being produced by causes. Then you have dependent arising, which being a dependent arising because being imputed depending upon parts. Then you have the dependent arising, which is the mere imputation from the side of the conceptual consciousness.
That is that. I'm the Chetan Jerashi made some Tayati Kotenti in the then some the Tanguera. Chetan Jerashi to him, Maris, 20 days, some of the Tanguera. That is that is sometimes 20 days Sumiva. That did it. That can be Chetan Jerashi mess at this. Some look what number 10 days. That is. Candy is a situation. Turn it to wear. Turn it to ways and then could I think in materials. I think it to turn it to the young Mary. How can you turn it to? That turn it to beauty Suniva. You let it to the cheap. Chashel it to the cheap. Dobe Pata them to the cheap. Dobe double attended to the that's Suniva. That is Rashi maybe some dance the caress in it. 2 days, 2 Senate, 10 days in a Chile. Turn it to a instance, 10 day instance, Chibare, 2 to 10 days. What the instance, any Rashi Amaris, Silva. That is what did it?
Everything is empty of existing by its own nature because of being independent arising. We have these three types of dependent arising. In other words, we would say that all phenomena are empty of existing by their own nature. So why, why are they empty of existing by their own nature? The answer is because they are dependent arising. So then they're so literally dependent and related. An equivalent term, in other words, which would mean the same thing, is existing through reliance. So in a certain context, it's kind of more has more of the flavor of being, being existing relative to something else. So anyway, existing relative to something else, or existing by relying upon something else. So in other words, then we would say, since things everything which exists is a dependent arising. Therefore, they can't exist by their own nature. If something exists by its own nature, if something did exist by its own nature, it would mean it doesn't depend upon anything else. So it couldn't be a dependent arising. So because of the fact that everything is a dependent arising, then they can't exist by their own nature, independent of anything else. And when we talk about dependent arising, we've got those three types. Dependent arising in the sense of depending upon causes. Dependent arising in the sense of depending upon parts. Dependent arising in the sense of being merely labeled by the conceptual mind. And so we say that nothing exists by its own nature because of existing relative to others, or because of being dependent and dependent on and related to others. So those two really mean the same thing. Because of being dependent, therefore they don't exist by their own nature.
Chida medaba se tu sukanga lo rashime be tuji tugure. Manantu ke zaman mete barba. Keji juwa tugiyari. Jujen tene keji mete ba jujen tugiyari. Keji juwa chine tare ni chola tugiyari. Keji juwa chine tene lo dikeva se tugiyari. Mete batane. Keji che dugi amaru, ngobo kitanje keji che dugi amaru, metembare dere. Chudu tambi nego yenyeti chudu nige nego su, mebare dore. Aresene chudu tambi nego ki, ani chudu nego ki yenyeti, chudu nibe nego su, potile lo cheru chintare. Chudu chigi lo cheru droda. Chudu nibe tambi nego siti, lo di chudu 통화를 지르가 로게 충화를 초등이발레인데 초등이 담보 내가 얘기했길래 초등이발이 로체를 친수냐 근데 그 스탠이 파게 두게 되네 게 되네 탈치월 두두게 그래서 두서 강걸로 두두 인사를 봐 그 라신기 매부 인사를 라신기 마두부 인사네 유아들 야는 두고두가 뒤제게 다시 세야지 통배 타마 통화스 본부라지네 통부들이 타마디 탈 형주를 봐 탈 형다한테 맨자도 누가 러시아전에 통배 타마디 본부라지 야부전에 두루야지 통배 타마디 러시아전에 통부디 종간한 로그에 지제 네 타마디 종간한 로그에 이무도가 일단에 통부그 타마디 뒤제게 다시 세야지 통배 타마 통하는스 아니 제베 타마 치와스 아니 뒤베 타마 제와스 나랑주다 단대지 뒤대야래 뒤대야래 뒤게 되네 남사질에 제도를 봐 뒤베 타마 제와스 아니 아니 그래서 통배 타마 통하인가 아니 싸베 타마 세바스 싸 타마데 세이들 봐 싸베 타마 세바스 아니 가지지네 치두도 좀봐 게지지 케어리 메르 봐 싸베 타마 세바스 뒤지게 다시 세지 그래서 강가로 라신만 마주베 두지를 키주고
in general, the fact of something being impermanent is a proof that it doesn't exist by its own nature. So, for example, in our own case, our existence is not something really like firm in the sense that, or by which I mean we don't remain unchanging. We're always changing. We're constantly changing, and eventually we're going to die. As time passes, we get older and older, and then in the end, we die. So you can see that we don't have this kind of like very firm, solid existence, constantly changing. If you think about it, then, like for example, that we might be there at 1 o'clock, then at 2 o'clock, the person of 1 o'clock is no longer there because you become older. So that person at 1 o'clock was 1 hour younger. The person at 2 o'clock is 1 hour older. So the person at 1 o'clock is no longer there at 2 o'clock. What you have is a person who's 1 year older. The young person is no longer there, and so it's like that, hour by hour, year by year, and so on. The person of this year, the person of last year is no longer here this year. They become the person has become older. That person no longer exists. You just have the person this year, and so for this reason, we can we can see how there's this constant process of getting older and older, changing, and eventually dying, which is an indication of existing through reliance or dependence upon other factors. So likewise, other ways of proving, establishing that things don't exist by their own nature is the what's called the four ends of compounded phenomena. What this refers to is how being high, you always end up descending, falling. Like for example, somebody can be the boss, the one in charge, the chief. They eventually are going to fall from that position. The way they fall can be good ways and bad ways. Like for example, sometimes the person who was in charge ends up in prison, so they fall in that way. But if something has been born, if a person has been born, then where you end up eventually always is dying. Whenever there's a gathering, that gathering of people always ends up separating. So gathering ends up with separating, and then collections end up by being used up. So you gather things together, you collect, you accumulate things. Eventually, those things are going to get used up, and that you no longer have that kind of like what's called accumulation of things. So all of those are individually are a proof, can be stated as a proof, and in fact they do prove that things don't exist from by their own nature. So let's stop there then.